Hello, and welcome to this live stream on pulse protein fractionation and some of the grants, fundings, and incentives that exist here in the Edmonton Metro region and really across all of Alberta. Thanks so much for joining us. We've got a pretty jam-packed 20 minutes to half hour or so. We're going to start off with a guest from the Protein Industries Canada, Carolee Garretts. Carolee, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah, you bet. And just for a little bit of history, Carolee used to work with Edmonton Global. She's totally passionate about plant proteins. She's worked for the Trade Commissioner Service in Japan and all over the world, just incredibly knowledgeable. So again, it's really great that you're here with us. Okay, so let's dive in with the first question. Can you give us a brief overview of what Protein Industries Canada is and the types of supports you offer to companies in this sector?
Sure. So we're one of 5 innovation superclusters created by the Government of Canada in 2018 to de-risk and incent innovation in some key sectors in Canada. And our particular focus is on the plant protein space. So we work with innovative consortia led by industry to help them explore innovative approaches that have a strong business case that will make a difference in the plant protein sector. So we provide funding. Typical project size for us is anywhere from $1 million up to even $20 million total, where we will co-fund eligible costs related to the development of innovative approach to process value-added protein ingredients based on broad acreage crop grown in Canada, like peas, fava, lentil, and a lot of the pulse crops that we're famous for the quality and quantity that we grow here in Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most people would know that Canada grows and exports more lentils than any other country in the world. So can you talk just a bit about what it would take for a company to qualify for these programs?
Yeah, sure. So the main thing for us is that we do fund things in collaboration. So we're supporting collaborative research. So the main thing for a group to be thinking about is who are you going to be working with to co-innovate. And so typically what we'll often see companies work with others in their supply chain, so either with their customers or their suppliers, to develop together an innovative approach to some technical challenge they're addressing. So that's the other key factor, Chris, is that the consortia that we work with have to be doing something that's innovative, that doesn't exist elsewhere, isn't done already, and that has a strong business case behind it. So it's really about applied R&D innovation in the plant protein space.
Yeah, and I think, again, we just ran a session today with Agri, who's one of the larger players in this space, and also with Pulse Canada. And they talked a lot about the need for innovation that still exists, whether it's in better uses of starch or reducing water or energy consumption. There's really a huge spectrum that people could be applying to. Is that correct?
Yeah, there is. So some of the more obvious things are that what does the end consumer want and how do you address some of the taste and texture challenges that get talked a lot about in the space. And you'll see a lot of press coverage on that and a lot of industry talk about that. But there is also a whole other gambit of innovation challenges that need to be addressed that relate to making a facility effective, cost efficient, et cetera. So that might be, yes, precisely, projects that would look at things like novel uses of byproduct, whether the starch or the fiber, or more efficient. How do you get a higher percentage of protein? It could also be looking at how you get a better quality of protein. So looking at what's your input and innovating on the plant input side. And Canada is a great place to be doing that kind of work too, because you can be close to the producers and really have close one-on-one relationships to customize what you need for your plant and your end customers.
Yeah, and I think just to pick up on that, I think that's one of the real uniqueness or unique benefits of the Edmonton region is we have the inputs and the quality and the logistics and all those pieces, but we also have the Leduc Food Discovery Center. We've got the University of Alberta. That's it's one of the top schools in the world around the whole areas of ag and innovation. So they've got that whole partner ecosystem to work with.
Yeah, and I think in this space, the plant protein sector in general for plant-based foods, there's really a race to market to who can develop the best products, the best taste, the best price point to leverage that, to really capitalize on what that market opportunity is. And what we're finding in the projects that we're involved in, the players that we're working with, is the more you can short circuit or fast track that innovation, the better off. And as you say, Chris, like having access to an ecosystem that's all in one place, like the Edmonton Metro Region offers, with university, an existing food manufacturing ecosystem, some publicly funded research infrastructure that can be tapped into, and access to those growers that can help you provide the input at the very outset. All of those pieces, when you bring them together, really make for a compelling case for engaging in that kind of activity.
Okay, perfect. So if someone wants to get a hold of you or work with Protein Industries Canada, what's the best way for them to reach out?
The best way to reach us is actually via our website. So on our website, proteindustriescanada.ca, there is all the information there on our program guide, how you can apply. There's also wealth of material on the kinds of projects we funded to get some inspiration on what we do. We're actually quite a flexible funding program, so we really look at what are the company consortia that we're working with, looking to address, and we do our best to match that. So if you go through the projects that we've announced, and we're well over 20 technology-based projects we've funded in that space already, there's quite a variety, and there's more in the pipeline that look quite different from what we've already done. So I would say if you think the program is a match for what you and your company are looking to do reach out to us and have a conversation, because we're just really trying to facilitate and make business happen, and we'll do our best to match what you're trying to do.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks so much, Carolee. And again, I think all the viewers will recognize just by the comments that Carolee made that she really knows this topic, really knows this industry, so a great person to connect with. And that's really the case across Protein Industries Canada. Really a tremendous resource for any company either already in Canada or looking to come in and find a local partner. Okay, so thanks again, Carolee. Next up, we've got Elliot Hewitt. Elliot is with Western Economic Diversification. It's a branch of the federal government. Again, a person who really knows this sector well, really is able to help with companies and investment. So Elliot, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing, Chris?
Doing great. Okay, so let's jump in here. Can you give us a brief overview of what Western Economic Development, particularly the Business Scale-Up Fund, and maybe who's eligible, who's involved in this?
Yeah, absolutely. So just so our listeners understand, we're what's called a regional development agency. There are 6 regional development agencies currently in Canada. We are the one serving Western Canada. In the recent budget announcement, our minister did state that there will be a new RDA stood up for BC region. That's happening over the summer, but for now, we're still Western Economic Diversification Canada. And along with the other regional development agencies, we are offering programming under what's called the Regional Economic Growth Initiative. And there's 2 main pillars under that program. One is called the Regional Innovation Ecosystem Program. That is a mechanism we provide funding to not-for-profit entities that help support business growth and ecosystem development. Entities like, the Calgary Economic Development, Global Edmonton is a good, for instance, of the type of partners that we have, and we fund activities under that program. The Business Scale-Up and Productivity Program is the one I want to concentrate on today, because this is our program that directly supports business growth. And these are what we call repayable contributions. In sort of non-government speak, that means an interest-free loan. To qualify for the Business Scale-Up Program, there are some kind of basic requirements. You have to have a company that is Canadian-based and at least on operation for 2 years in Canada. And for us, obviously, we want to have activities that are based in Alberta, but or anywhere across Western Canada. And we give preference to high growth businesses. For us, that definition means that year over year, a company is experiencing at least 20% growth. And the other thing to remember with the Business Scale-Up Program is that it's a competitive process. So twice a year, we run a call for expressions of interest. We don't call it a request for proposals, but the expression of interest is basically a scaled down application that allows businesses to put forward their project plans, For us, on the business scale up program, we can have activities up to 3 years, 1 year grace period, and then up to 5 years to repay. So everything we do is project based, and companies can apply for up to 50% funding. The critical piece is that the matching capital has to be real funding. We require at least 50% upfront matching, and that allows us to cover off the other 50% of eligible activities.
Okay, so Elliot, like a lot of the companies that we work with are more international, looking to come into Canada. So would this be a tool for them if they were able to, to form an alliance or a partnership, JV, or something with an existing company that's already here?
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, we have seen some scenarios like that. We deal with them on a case-by-case basis. So certainly, if you do come across, an investor from outside Canada looking to come in, we've had situations where they've either, bought an existing company, in which case then they become eligible. We have had sort of, like you said, joint ventures. They're a bit messy, and not everyone's the same. So we will consider them. But again, typically it's, you have to, these are for, Canadian companies, that's our focus. But we have seen a few instances where foreign companies have become involved once they've purchased a company, or like I said, in partnership with them. Okay,
that's great. It's good to know you've got some flexibility around that. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, there is a couple of other federal entities that would be of interest. Let's say one in particular is Invest in Canada. So the Invest in Canada branch has been set up, and their focus is on foreign direct investment. So I really encourage folks to make connections through that. Just Google Invest in Canada, and their website is there. Certainly, I can provide contacts directly to their staff. The other program is the Strategic Investment Fund.
Right, that was the one I was just about to ask you about.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so tell us about that one.
Yeah, so about 4 years ago, the current government decided to take a look at the whole innovation ecosystem in Canada. And as the regional development agencies are part of that, if I want to say that our big brother department is called Innovation, Science, and Economic Development, and ISED for short has the Strategic Innovation Fund. And companies, as far as I can tell, companies that are located outside of Canada can apply to that program, and it's similar in some ways. We heard from. A little bit about, you'll hear about the Agri Innovates and the Protein Industries Canada. Innovation is the focus of the Strategic Innovation Fund. So it is critical that the type of processes and facilities and that you're bringing in would be innovative with Canada. But I do believe there is some options to apply to that program. And the best way to connect with them is either through their website. If you Google, again, Strategic Innovation Fund, there are opportunities to connect with staff. Also through Innovation Canada is another very good link that people can access. And worst case scenario is you get my contact information and I make those connections for you. But yeah, there is certainly within the federal government, there are some supports. Obviously, as a federal government, you can't kind of pick winners across the country, but our focus is on developing those Canadian companies and helping them grow and become global competitors.
Okay, well, if the worst case is contacting you, that's not so bad.
That's not so bad, yeah.
Okay, so thanks so much for that, Elliot. Really informative. And you mentioned Invest in Canada. We work really close with Invest in Canada, so we're also really happy to make that connection. Okay, so thanks so much. Next, we're going to bring in Tanya Gadzos. She's with the Canadian Agricultural Partnership, which is part of the Government of Canada. Tanya, thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me here today.
Oh, you bet. Okay, so let's jump right into this. Can you give us a brief overview of Agri Innovate program and how it relates to companies working in the plant protein space?
Absolutely. So the Agri Innovate program, it's a program under the Canadian Agriculture Partnership, and it actually ends in March 2023. It provides repayable contributions of up to $10 million in total eligible cost per project. This program, we support innovative first in Canada and our first to the sector investments. So really, we are looking for those projects that aim to accelerate the commercialization, adoption, and our demonstration of innovative products, technologies, processes, or services. As well, we have eligibility that we look at for our program for non-for-profit organizations that are incorporated in Canada. So businesses and our corporations. We have eligible activities as well that I'll get into a little bit later. We have an Agri Innovate advantage. So we provide 0% interest for our funding contributions. The company maintains their IP. Companies have 10 years to repay their contribution. And we have a 75% stacking limit of total Canadian government, federal, provincial, territorial, all governments together for funding for our program. We have an assessment criteria. We look at innovation, financing, the market potential, the alignment with our program, the department as well. And we have a two-stage process as well, where clients will go to our website, they'll fill out a pre-screening form, and then if the companies are a good fit for our program, they are then invited to submit a full application, in which we will do a due diligence, and then companies will be either awarded the contract or the project would not be a good fit for our program.
Okay, really interesting. So I think access to capital is one of the real key things, especially as you're moving from startup to scale up. And you mentioned fit. So what does good fit look like for a company looking to apply?
Okay, so I'll just go over again the eligibility, and I'll focus in on a very, very important item. So as I mentioned, you need to be a for-profit company and incorporated in Canada. And I would say a very, very important item is the innovation threshold. So we are looking for companies that have a project, either it's an innovative product, service, technology, or process that is innovative, transformative, that it's not incremental changes for what exists right now in the market, but something very different. Like I said, first or new to Canada and first to the sector. So very, very important. And when companies apply to our program, they have to ensure that 50% of their financing is secure prior to applying to our program.
Okay, super interesting. You know, and the theme that's run through all of these conversations so far is innovation. So it's great that this is a fund too that really helps kickstart some of that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there anything else that we should be, know about this, or maybe share an example of a company or what kind of someone who's gone through this?
Sure. Yes, I have an example. So recently, actually, I guess it was in the last few months, 2020, Merit Functional Foods Corporation, they are just outside of Winnipeg, Manitoba. They have received funding from the Agri Innovate program. They are constructing a commercial scale protein extraction facility and have high quality plant proteins derived from peas and canola based on their fractionation and purification process. So this project supports a first in Canada innovation to commercialize pea and canola protein fractionation. So the Agri Innovate program recommended funding, and they actually did receive funding from our program.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so got until 2023 to apply, 0% interest up to $10 million, and you've got to have 50% of your matching capital set aside.
Exactly. And I would just end up by saying to ensure that your project, whatever you are presenting to us, is innovative.
Okay.
Cutting edge, first in Canada. Absolutely.
Perfect. And if it's cutting edge, first in Canada, it's ideal to be right here in the Edmonton Metro region. Okay, thanks so much, Tanya. Really enjoyed the conversation. And again, if anybody wants to reach out to Tanya,
thank you so much.
Oh yeah, you're very welcome. Her contact information is in here, and you can also reach out to us, and we're more than happy to connect you. Next up, we've got Steve Kwasny. Steve is the Director of Agriculture with Invest Alberta. Steve, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Okay. And again, Invest Alberta is a organization much like Invest in Canada, like Edmonton Global, really working hard in this space to attract international investment. Fairly new organization, again, much like us, and really trying to make a difference across the province. So can't say enough about how much we appreciate the partnership of Invest Alberta. Okay, so let's jump in. So can you give us a bit of an overview of what Invest Alberta is doing in regards to maybe your pitch book initiative?
Yeah.
And kind of how you're going after attracting investment?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the pitch book is something that we're piloting right now based off of some kind of our earliest conversations and our sort of foundational conversations. And really what it comes down to is, this running joke that we had, the last thing Alberta needs is another study that says we've got low taxes and sunny days. I think that part of the Alberta pitch has become well understood. But when we're in front of potential investors around the world, that we operate the international offices on behalf of the government of Alberta, when we're talking to folks, we get through that first gate, we've piqued their interest about what's happening in Alberta. The next step is to be able to actually show them, here's a project, here's an investment worthy opportunity that might match your priorities as a family office, as an investment fund, as a venture fund, et cetera. So it's a relatively new thing to try and pull off. We're still, like I said, we're still in a bit of a pilot phase and gathering what are the opportunities around. So we've got a bit of a process. My colleague Jordan Speakman is managing that on behalf of Invest Alberta. So if folks are interested in how we can help them package what their opportunity might be, if they're looking for capital, how we can package it and try and get that message out to people, especially through our international offices. So that's really what we're doing there, is about creating almost a catalog of here's all of the different opportunities across the province, and then just matchmaking.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. It's a little bit similar to an initiative we've got on the go. So we've identified a series of immediately investable opportunities, and plant protein fractionation is one of them. Canola crushing is another one that we're seriously looking at, as well as hemp. And it's a bit of a unique approach where we can actually say, here's all the data, here's the details. Now let's work together to make sure that business case makes good financial sense for you. So it's a similar approach that you've got at the provincial level.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's this first iteration, admittedly, is a bit of a higher cut to say, get people interested in what the opportunity is. There's obviously going to be more due diligence that's required. But I mean, really, what it comes down to, people want to know that if they're going to make an investment, that there's going to be a return on that investment. We want to show them where there's those opportunities within the province.
Okay, fantastic. And I know in other jurisdictions, they talk about incentives. We tend in Canada to talk about, grants and programs. But really, it's the same thing, just kind of different language. There may be some confusion, again, if you're an international investor, that we do have a kind of a federal level, a provincial level, and a municipal level. And often these programs can be stacked to get a fair bit of bang for the buck.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And I think, with Invest Alberta, I use the joke often, and part of our job is to have all the red yarn and newspaper clippings on the wall to figure out how we can help make those connection points, and work very closely with folks like yourselves at Edmonton Global to do just that and identify what is the best sort of competitive package we can put together to attract people. Maybe to take a bit of a step back without jumping right into the notion of incentives or grants. I think one of the philosophies of the government of Alberta has been to create an overall very competitive business environment, low tax jurisdiction. We did some studies related to finance and tech to look at actually how much more affordable it is in terms of sort of a take-home pay basis for employees to be in Calgary or Edmonton than it is to be in other competitive jurisdictions. So, I think at the first incentive is the wholesale or holistic competitive nature of the province, whether that's from a taxation perspective, a red tape perspective, and so on. So I think that's kind of the first incentive is the wholesale structure. But there is some recognition that these are really competitive times. There are some really competitive opportunities out there, and that there needs to be some skin in the game to close the deals, especially where there's high multiple type returns. So one of those is the Investment and Growth Fund that if you would have been watching the provincial budget announcement back in I guess it was March, that they announced would be coming out, that should be available shortly. It's going to be a very targeted fund, so it's not going to be a program that's open to just sort of any random person applying. You'll have to come through Invest Alberta, work with us to make sure that that the program meets the requirements, and it's really targeted at significant job creation and significant capital expenditure when there's competing jurisdictions. So if an organization or if a firm is looking at setting up a fractionation facility, within the Edmonton region, or let's say maybe a competitive jurisdiction in the United States. So, there could be some opportunity for that. It's still in the final stages of the fine tuning of exactly how it's all going to work, the application form, all of that stuff. But if there is an opportunity, please reach out either through Edmonton Global if you're already connected with Chris and his colleagues there, or directly through Invest Alberta, and we'll be able to take you through the process. More details will be available on our website shortly. But that's certainly one that we're really excited to be able to just add another tool in the toolbox, and it's really modeled off of the Texas Enterprise Fund, if folks are familiar with that model.
Okay, yeah. So and that's a really flexible model that's really helped Texas. So it's good to know we're adopting that here. And I think that the point you made about kind of the quality of life really matters. So it's Edmonton, for example, it's we've got more kind of living space. So the cost of living here is quite low compared to other major cities in Canada. Average incomes are actually higher than a lot of other places. So that gap is where you can kind of live a life and quality of life. So housing prices are lower, commute times are lower. There's just so much you can do. We're close to the mountains, so many lakes, and what makes this such a rich and fertile place.
No, absolutely. We and then the government takes less of it, which is also nice. So when you've got more in your pockets, you're spending less on cost of living, and then the government takes less of it, which I think is part of why Albertans talk about and proudly talk about being an entrepreneurial culture. We're able to reinvest more of that. So like I said, I like to say the first incentive is just the operating environment, and then everything else is really bonus points.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, lots of bonus points. So what other supports are out there for investors looking to land here, and beginning to build their team?
Absolutely. Well, and as you say, beginning to build their team, one of the really exciting announcements from the government of Alberta recently is the Alberta Jobs Now program. So details are available on the government of Alberta's website. But really, the Jobs Now program is for eligible employers to, if you've been thinking about hiring a position, or maybe you were sort of hesitant to, but you've got a clear position. There's going to be some value added to your company. It's going to cover up to 25% of the salary for the first year, provided you commit to keeping that person on for 52 weeks. So there's both a hiring component to that, and there's also a training component to that. So I would really encourage people to either contact the Department of Labor and Immigration, or ourselves. We can help find a contact for you there, or just check out the government of Alberta's website for the Jobs Now program, because as people are scaling up, as people are looking to hire, Alberta is tremendously fortunate to have an unbelievably talented population, well-educated population. So if as though that wasn't enough, we've now got an additional incentive to get people to work quickly, and I think that's what we want to do. Is there's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now, and this just sort of de-risks some of that. And once you get some of these high quality, talented Albertans in your workplace, you'll never want to let them go. So we're really excited about that. There's been lots of different programs available. One of the things that Invest Alberta can help with, Edmonton Global can help with, and we work together quite closely on, is identifying if there are specific or kind of more niche programs, how we can help navigate that. Lots of that requires getting a better understanding of a company. It's hard to give a sort of a full picture of here's all of the different programs, because we've got a document of several pages of different programs that exist elsewhere. So, understanding that navigating that is complex, we're certainly happy to help and happy to connect with all the folks on this call, Western Economic Diversification, Edmonton Global, others. And so, but I think certainly that Jobs Now program, check it out. It's really exciting, both on the hiring front, but also the training front. And as we've all pivoted over the last year, identifying that there's a whole host of new skill sets, a whole host of different ways to maximize the potential of your business. If you need some support with that, the government of Alberta has come up with a very cool program.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks so much, Steve. And again, that Jobs Now is just one of the programs that Steve talked about. That 25% of salary for the first year is pretty fantastic. So especially if you're looking to grow a company, maybe do some quick hiring, it's really a tremendous program. And I know Steve and others would be more than happy to walk you through it to make sure you really understand. So again, thanks so much for joining us for this really quick dive on the grants, programs, and funding that exists here in Canada, Alberta, and of course the Edmonton Metro region. We will really want to see anybody who's interested in this space invest here. It's an incredible place. It's a rich, bounteous land. We exist at the edge of the boreal forest, the edge of the Great Plains, kind of the edge of the Rocky Mountains, and it's why there's so much life and imagination happening right here. And we hope that you come and join us. Thanks so much, and please reach out if there's any other questions you have. And we're happy, as always, to assist you in anything you need. Thanks so much.